So, hello everyone. Let's get started for today. Oops, let's get this camera a little bit down so you can see my cool shirt. Coder's gonna code. Please let me know if you can hear me okay, because I'm trying to do this thing where my microphone is not stuck to my face all the time. So, but you still have to hear me. So if that's not the case, then please let me know, then I'll move it a little bit closer. What are we learning today, Luz? Thank you for joining. I hope I got the title right this time. It's sometimes a little bit behind, you're right about that, but today we're learning a little bit about what I talked about with you earlier on a call to actually contribute to Xamarin.Forms. I just came across an issue the other day, and which is about auto-fitting the text into a label, so that you can just have a boolean that says, I don't know, auto-fit or whatever we're going to call it, and then it will size the font size automatically depending on the amount of width that the label has, probably. So it's kind of a easy feature to implement, hopefully. I've thought that a couple of times for features that I thought, yeah, this is gonna be easy, I'm just gonna do this and that, and then when you go into it, dig into it, then it's some kind of Pandora's box, and you go from one problem to the other. So hopefully that's not the case for this time, but yeah, in the very basis, I hope there will be some people that are asking questions about how to get started with contributions, why can I get stuff to build, what does it mean when we add a certain tag to it, or what does the solution structure even look like. So that's some things that we're going to look at anyway, by the example of this this PR, or well, not a PR yet, this issue. So yeah, I'm just gonna give it a go and see where we end up. So let's have a little look at I'm back, I think, hopefully. Can someone confirm I'm back? That would be great. Don't know what's going on. Hopefully it will. Okay, good. I'm back. So let's hope it stays that way. So what I was talking about, hopefully you didn't miss too much, is whenever you open a new feature request, it will look something like this. You can add a title, which should be the first description, and then some kind of summary, which again needs to be like as verbose as you can to so that we know what you mean and what you get out of this new feature, and we can start working on it as soon as possible. So for this one, Huda IT, I don't know who that is, opened this issue and wants to have the ability to make his text auto fit the label best. So this is something that is supported on both iOS and Android, I know that for sure. Hopefully UWP as well. So yeah, basically what these kinds of features do is just enable you to reach out to an API that is not available yet through Forms. So it is available on the actual platform, but it's not available yet through the abstraction layer of Xamarin.Forms. So the only thing you have to do is just create a mapped property on the Xamarin.Forms layer, and then implement the logic per platform to actually use that property. So that's what we are going to see right now. I see the stream is still a bit wonky. The quality is going up and down, but I hope you can still follow. Don't know why that's happening. In any case, let's just continue. Let me know when I drop again. There were already some people that were jumping on this. Our lovely community tend to do that, to give us some extra information, so that's great. So for Android, we have support from API level 14 and up, it seems, as long as you're using the support library version 26. And yeah, for iOS, I propose to implement the everything with unsure if we need. Okay, very good point. Also in iOS, so in iOS, yeah, you have the adjust font size to fit width. So that should be pretty easy to use. The only thing that is noted here is that on Android there is apparently some kind of minimum scale factor which defaults to 12. So to be consistent between platforms, and that's what we want to achieve with Xamarin.Forms, we have to set that same property as well. So if I go in here, the Apple documentation, you also have a minimum scale factor here, so that's great. Then we just have to figure out if the measurement points will be the same, so we can see it on the same on both. I'm not sure if we're going to get to all these details in this stream, but we can hopefully get a head start on this, and I'll finish it offline, or maybe in the next stream, who knows. Maybe Luce is going to pick it up tomorrow. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. It's live. It's awesome. Okay. So the first thing you want to do if you are contributing and you do not have write access to the actual repository, which is going to be true for anyone who is not on Xamarin.Forms team or somewhere else working at Microsoft. So you want to fork the repository. So basically with that, you're creating your own copy of the repository on your own account. And there you have all the rights to do whatever you want. Yeah, then there you will create, probably on your forked repository, you will create a separate branch from master, or well, that's actually a good point to touch upon as well if you're going to contribute for the first time. Basically, what we have as kind of a rule thing is whenever it's a regression bug, then it goes to like one version before. So in this case, that would be 4.1, and then we will make sure that it also gets to 4.2 and 4.3 eventually. And if you have new bugs, or basically new bugs, then it's going to be in the current branch, so that would be 4.2 at this moment. And whenever you have like new features or that kind of stuff, so new APIs, which this will basically be, then it just goes into master, which will be the vNext version, so in this case 4.3. So that's something that you can consider whenever you open a PR and you have to specify the branch that you want to merge this in. So keep that in mind, what kind of issue you're working on, so you can already rebase it on the right branch and make sure that you open the PR against the right branch. That will give you a head start and not have us ask you to rebase and do all kinds of hard stuff, which we might ask you anyway, because it might take some time before we get around to it, and then time has passed and maybe a new version came out, so it might still happen, but then at least you know what that's all about. And whenever you have your forked repository, you can just open this, pull it down to your local computer, and you can open the solution. So I'm not going to fork it. I have access to the actual Xamarin.Forms repository, so I'm just going to work on that directly. I think I do have GitHub desktop here. So it already changes some of these files. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I usually just exclude them from the commit. It's some regeneration of a couple of properties. There was something I was going to tell you, but now I forgot. So if we go to the file system, show in Finder, then you will probably notice that there are multiple solution files. If you show the, I think, are they removed? Oh no, they're on top here. There might be multiple solution files which are prefixed with a dot. It's kind of hard to see probably. And with a dot they will be hidden on a Mac by default, but on Windows you will probably see them. So make sure that you open the solution that is just named Xamarin.Forms.sln, nothing special. So that way you will have the right one. Basically everything that has a dot in front of it will be either hidden or should be hidden, so that is some internal stuff. Of course, if you really know what you're doing, you can use that, because we use some bits of that as well. But if not, just stay clear of that, you don't need it. So we'll just boom, hide it again. It's Command-Shift-Dot if you're on a Mac. Very good key combination to know. So I've just opened the Xamarin.Forms SLN, which is the latest master. It's a big solution with a lot of complex stuff, so it takes some time to load. So hopefully not too long. Any questions so far from anyone? 8 viewers, awesome. I'm on my way to Twitch affiliate, so keep it coming. Come on. Okay, so I'll just continue a little bit on the file system then. No questions so far. Good. That either means I'm explaining everything very well or something else. So as you can see, there are quite some folders here. Hey, good evening. Yeso Pas, or I don't know how to pronounce that. Thank you for joining us. So you can see it's a bit more clear if you can see it here in the Solution Explorer. I think it's coming. Ties and emulators. No, I don't need those. So let's get everything together here. On Windows there's this button to do this, so let me zoom in a little bit so you can see a bit better. Okay, so this is the solution structure here. So here we have the new spec files. You usually don't want to worry about that as well. And here we have the control gallery, which is actually pretty important probably. That is probably what you're going to run and test your new code on. So this is a sample app. Let me just run this while we are talking about it. This is a sample app that has basically all kinds of UI tests and also test scenarios that you can run manually for all controls and all kinds of scenarios. So it has, well, it's a Xamarin.Forms project, right? So here you have the shared code, and here you have the bootstrappers for Android, GTK, iOS, etc., etc. Some of them you can't run on macOS yet. I mean, it's .NET Standard. You know what might happen. So here we have our shared project, which holds a bunch of things. And here we have some gallery pages. So here you can see things like button galleries, absolute layout. So this is basically some generic control stuff that we have. So the basics are going to be tested here. Yeah, Conrad, I know the YouTube stream is offline. Hard time to figure out. So I guess I'll just stream on Twitch and download it from there and put it on YouTube later. But thank you for the heads up. And what we also have here, I mean, there's a bunch of legacy things here as well. I think the core gallery pages are more the legacy kind of things. And also a lot of stuff is generated from this. Because most of the controls inherit from the visual element, they will automatically have a whole bunch of properties like width and height and transparency or opacity or rotation or that kind of stuff. So we generate a whole bunch of pages to let you test that manually or do it automatically through UI tests. But we also have this shared project here, which is called issues.shared, which basically hold all the issues, also the ones that we collected from Bugzilla, and also the GitHub issues. So if we open one up here, you can see, let's zoom this in a little bit as well. You can see with this attributes, we say it's an issue from GitHub with this ID. It has this title, and these platforms are affected. So that way we can generate a dynamic UI for these issues. So whenever you start working on an issue, usually when it's a bug, if you develop something new, then you're going to go to the other gallery pages. But if it's really a bug, then you try to reproduce it in one of these issues. You can just, well, copy and paste one of these, or create a new class, name it appropriately, and just copy the important bits from here. So what you want to do is the test content page, and we also have a test navigation page and test yada yada yada. So there's a couple of things that you might need to learn about. And then we have the init. So these inherit from some kind of abstract page that needs you to override the init, and this is where you will be building your UI to create a reproduction for the issue that you're going to work on. And for the rest, you can just use the normal page events that you would normally use, everything you need to reproduce the issue that you might have. And then last but not least, you can add a UI test, which uses all this UI that you build up here. And then you can, well, this is a very easy UI test, but you want to implement a UI test here that is run automatically. In the ideal world, you will, whenever you choose to contribute, you will add this for us. But if you are unable to, for whatever reason, let us know and we will try to do that for you. Don't see this as an excuse to not do it, that we will just do it for you. Please try to do it yourself. That will save us a lot of time. I was going over the structure here, and actually I think I ran the gallery sample. I'm not sure if we're going to do much implementation today because I'm just explaining you all this stuff, but that's important anyway. So maybe this will be a multi-episode stream, I don't know. So here's the nice gallery for iOS. I can run this on Android as well, and it will look, oh wait, I can run it without the debugger attached. Here we go. So it will look kind of the same because that is the point of forms, right? It doesn't look particularly beautiful. Sorry about that, whoever designed this. But it does the trick. So yeah, here you have a master detail page for some reason. This is probably some test as well. You can swap out the root for a couple of things. Note that whenever you do, you might come across, I think if you swap this for a content page and you're going to want to go to a next page, it's going to crash because of the exception that you cannot push a page if it's not in a navigation page. So yeah, there's probably some crashes if you go around here. But it's, yeah, this application is not built for the actual public. It's just here to do the thing mostly, so not all of the code in there might be as beautiful as you expect it to be, but it does the trick. So more importantly, down here you will have all the basic controls basically. So here you can see some kind of legacy stuff as I mentioned, but the button gallery, and here we have, so see here is this is generated mostly automatically. The is focused, background color, focus, gesture recognizer, input transparent. These are properties that are available for all controls, for all elements. So we just generate these pages so that we can see if these properties behave the way that we expect them to behave. So with some extra debug information like where is the position, what's the width and the height, and some extra information based on the property that you have selected here. So if we have the opacity, I think this is a little bit less opacity. It doesn't really specify it here, but you can do the rotation, so you can see it's rotated a little bit. So that's pretty amazing. And then if you go further down, this is actually enhanced with more tests that we wrote for this specific control. So here we have a padding, for instance, or the text color, or text or the image view. So if we were to go to back to the shared project, and here the gallery pages, and we would look up the button gallery. So then here you see normal button, disabled button, cannot tabbed. So here we see timer, alert, image button. So this is probably bank.png. See, that's what we are looking at right now. But you don't see the other test scenarios that I just showed you. So these are just the ones that we want to do specifically for this button. And these are then added to the rest of the test. I don't think this is the right one, actually. That's too bad. Where's the normal button gallery? Well, anyway, it should be somewhere in there. But that is basically how it works. So that augments that list and gives it more more test scenarios. It's this one. So it's in the core gallery pages. That's the one that you're looking for. So because of this build and the way this is set up, we can add more test scenarios to this page specifically for the button, or for the checkbox that you will see here, or for the editor, date picker, list view, etc., etc. What you can also do is go back and go to test cases. So these are all the test cases that I've just shown you. So you can just go to the GitHub ones, or the Bugzilla ones, or maybe ones that are not associated to anything, that are just issues that have never been discovered by our users, but we discovered ourselves, and we wanted to implement the reproduction here and make sure that it doesn't regress. So yeah, and you can just enter the GitHub issue right here and navigate here, and yeah, you can see what should be going on here. So that is basically how this works. So whenever you start working on something new right now, I was still explaining actually the solution structure here. So docs, don't worry about that. Embedding test beds, not sure what this even does. The pages gallery, I think this also has something to do with the gallery app, but yeah, probably don't need to worry about that. So here we have the platforms. This is actually where the platform specific code is implemented. So for Android, for GTK, for iOS. So this is what we will be, where we will be mapping our properties to. We will see that in a little bit. Then we have the UI tests. So these are some bootstrapper applications to run the actual gallery app and run it in an automated way, so that we can also test these issues and see that nothing breaks whenever we change something. So that's nice to know. Then we have a whole lot of unit tests in place as well. Also divided up by controls or whatever makes sense. So this is probably not the best example, but if we go to the button renderer, then yeah, we have a lot of things going on. No, wait, why am I back at the renderer? This doesn't make sense. Because it goes back to wherever I am here in the editor. Okay, so I was looking for something with a button unit test. There we go, that makes more sense. So they have this some kind of setup that you might know, just n unit, and we have test clicked event. We're missing an E here, which basically tests the most basic stuff. So we have a whole lot of these, and they are run automatically whenever we do a build. So again, to make sure that nothing breaks while we implement some new stuff or try to fix bugs. Xamarin Flex. What does Xamarin Flex do? This has some stuff with that has to do with the flex layout, as I can see correctly. I'm not sure why that is all the way in its own library. This is kind of annoying, having to go back with this all the time. And here we have the Xamarin.Forms folder, which holds the Xamarin.Form core. So this is basically the abstraction layer that you would see when you are using Xamarin.Forms as a regular user. So here we have the cells, everything for shell, things that have to do with style sheets, or just the regular button that you might see here, because we are a fan of buttons. I'm using the button as an example all the time. And you can see all these bindable properties, commands. So this is used to set your commands on it. This is used to set the text color. And when we scroll down a little bit more, these are all the properties that we can use. Then you will probably see that we do some stuff whenever you change the binding context. And also whenever you change the border radius. So here you can see all the magic happening that will happen on the abstraction layer that Xamarin.Forms actually is. So this holds some logic, and then yeah, probably for the most controls, the most logic will be in the actual platform projects that we've just seen. But this is what you will use, because we are going to implement something on the label. So we are going to go to the there's a lot of eyes label right here, and we're going to add a new property to that, and then that property we could use in our renderer to catch whenever something changes in that property, and whenever it does, we want to make sure that we invoke the right logic on the actual platform. So that is what happens here. Then we have the maps. So we have the Xamarin.Forms maps, which is a component that lets you show maps. Maps are always good. So we have the material, so which has to do with the visual, which is basically some kind of how you want to show your UI that makes the looks of Xamarin.Forms identical on iOS and Android, and Tizen in this case. Oh, awesome. It also has Tizen support. That's always cool. So in this case, we have material, and at a later stage, probably more flavors will be added. I think we have mentioned Cupertino, or what is the UWP one? Fabric? Is that the Fabric UI? I don't know. So that might be added in the future. So basically, you can theme your application very easily. Or just one element, just the button, or just the label, or the entire page. It's up to you. The way that yeah, comes through here. And then we have a whole bunch of things that have to do with XAML. So if you're writing your UI in XAML, then and you want to fix something there, this is probably the place to do it. To be honest, if you're going to work on these kinds of issues, then you're probably going to work on the Xamarin.Forms core mostly, and the platforms, and then hopefully in the control gallery you will add some test scenarios and automated UI tests, or unit tests of course as well. Let's not forget about those. So yeah, let's just get started a little bit on what we were doing. So this person proposes to create a label auto fit. I'm not sure if that is going to be a right name. So if you have any suggestions, please put it in the chat right now. But for now, I'm going to go with the work title of auto fit. Before I create the actual PR, I will probably change that. And you probably want to make this a bindable property. So let's just go here, and I think they're saying, yeah, it should be a Boolean, which makes kind of sense because you either want to have it on or off. So yeah, and then whoops, line break mode. Do we have another Boolean? It always makes it easier to copy paste some stuff that looks mostly alike, right? Font. Here we're already in the regular property. So if you're working with bindable properties, you have to create this static thing first, which refers to the eventual normal property. So let's see, bindable property, and let's see, make this auto size property for now. Create auto size. So this is used to do the bindings from code, also from XAML, but there is a little bit more magic. So then you would have to say like new binding, and then you're going to specify label dot auto size property, but you're going to actually set it to the auto size property here. So this is just used as the definition of the bindable property, if you will. So here we can invoke some property change if we want to. Invalidate measure internal, that might actually be a good idea to do that, because the auto size might do something with the measurement. I think it's the other way around, right? The measurement is going to impact the font. Well, anyway, let's keep it here for now to see what happens. Type of bool. So this is what we're doing here. We have to specify to which normal property this bindable property maps. So we have yet to create this. This is why it's giving an error right now. Then we have to specify what type it's expecting, so the return type. So we want a boolean, we want it to be true or false if the auto size is on or off. Then we have to specify the declaring type. So in this case that would be the label, so basically to what control does this bindable property belong to. And then we can set a default value. So since we have not used this property before because it wasn't there, I'm going to set the default value to false. So whenever this update comes out, users will not notice any difference out of the box, but only whenever they start playing with this new property, then they should see some changes going in. So you'll always want to choose the value that represents the situation as it is today, basically. That way users aren't surprised and it's not a breaking change. So let's create this auto size property. To keep it in the right order for my OCD, let's put it behind the padding property. Here we go. Let's say here, auto size. There's going to be a bool here as well. And we have to change this one as well, of course. This is going to be the auto size property now. So there, that's in place, and we can actually start using this already. So if I want to do that, let's now go to the control gallery, the shared one. And we want to go here to the core ones because we're actually adding something new to the label, right? So here you have all these existing label core gallery things with medium, bold font, etc., etc. You might see this happening as well because we still want to test the deprecated calls in here. So I think we do not want to use this font property anymore. See, it's deprecated. And well, we have the flag treat warnings as errors on. So yeah, we have to work with these overrides in the core gallery app to still make this work. So if you're going to work on a change that deprecates something, we still don't delete all the code for that, just deprecate it, put the attribute on it, but make sure that all the tests, you will see them automatically because the build will fail. Just put these warnings around them so we can still use the code, use the tests to see if that breaks, yes or no. Just keep them in. But that's why you might see these things here. So here we are trying to test the line break mode and a lot more, but we can very easily now add one here. So here we have actually the padding. See, it's all about the order we do things in. And we're going to make this a auto size container. So we want to create a new view container, which is also something that you can use. It's provided to you to make it easier to create these kind of test cases. And we want to create a label in that. And here we have like the test category. We are actually want to implement this in the future, that we have a we have these categories and we can just fire off the tests for a certain category. So if something changed in the padding, then we just have to run the tests that have to do with padding and not go through the full suite again which might do 90% of the tests for nothing, because the code change is very specific to a certain category. I think we're still working on doing that, but for that it's important to make sure it's a right category here. So if you don't see one that makes sense in here already, just add one. I'm going to add the auto size for now. It might, well, I think this is good enough for now. So auto size container, put it in this category here, auto size, there we go. And then we just put in a new label. And here you can create these scenarios. You can multiply it and make sure that you get the, well, maybe this is not the right place to do it. This is the label core gallery. So this is maybe where you would just want to show off that it's working, yes or no. And then more in the issues, you can have some more variations and test it with whatever properties might make sense. So in this case, we probably might want to test what happens if we set the new auto size property to true and we set the font size as well. How does that behave? Does it matter if we set the one first before the other or the other way around, and see if that behaves the way that you expect it to behave, and tweak your implementation on that. So for now, I'm just going to take the heavy path and just see if we can get it to work in the time that we have left. So here I can say auto size to true. There we go. It doesn't do anything because we don't have the platform specific implementation yet. But you can see that I now have created a new property on my label that I can just use from here. What you then want to do is add this container to this long list of other tests that we have here to make it show up in the gallery app. So whenever I run this now, we should have a new entry in our label test cases, which is has something to do with auto size. I think this actually might not impact the categories, the testing categories that I mentioned before, but this is more like where it shows up in the command gallery list thing. So that's why you might see if we take the max lines, for instance, that's why you will see multiple entries for the max lines. In this case, a whole lot. We will see that probably in a little bit. But each max lines will be a different testing scenario, as you can see here. So again, here these scenarios are added here to test the different scenarios when combining the max lines with the line break mode, the different line break modes. So each scenario is basically in here to see how that behaves, and you can easily click through it or write a UI test to do that for you. So here the simulator comes up. I put it in the label one. So you normally want to use this ones without legacy in here. And here we see the properties that are usually in here, but if I scroll down, you will see the line break modes in itself, but also a lot of styles and also a lot of max lines. See, now there's this weird behavior that when you scroll to one of the styles, it will pop to the first one, but after that you can go to the next ones, probably because these are multiple entries, and it will just try to go to the first one, but you can get to the other ones eventually. So if we scroll down, we have the auto size here, okay, I'm sorry about that the video has a stutter. I see the frame rate going up and down, so at least the sound is good, so hopefully you can follow a little bit with the video, but I can see how this setup is not ideal, so sorry about that. I will work on that for the next time. And we've added this auto size thing here to our test cases. I see I did forget to add a text here, and we probably also hello world, and we might also, because that would be of impact of the size, right? So we want to give this a width request of, I don't know, 300 and a height request of, I don't know, 50 to see what that does for us. Am I breaking things now? I think so, yeah. Okay, so now if we run it quickly again, no hard reload for this yet. If we run this again now, we should see some text, but still the implementation is not really there. So let's just go to the platforms one. So the control gallery is done for now as well. And well, which one do we want to do first? Let's go for iOS. So here's the platform project, which has some subfolders as well. For most platforms, this would be the same. So we have some cells, we have collection view, we have extensions, and most of the stuff would be in the renderers folder. So here you will find all the renderers that if you haven't contributed before, if you are creating a custom renderer, then you are inheriting from one of these and doing your own thing. So just see this as your own custom renderer. That will make it probably easier to think about this. But it will probably have a lot more code than you usually have in them. And then you can just access the element and the control and the kind of properties from right here and do your thing. So if we go into the label renderer, quickly switch to the simulator to see if these changes came through right. Auto size, hello world. So see, there we go. Maybe you want to give it a little bit of a background color to see what the width and height is and if it sizes the font appropriately, but that's for later. So what you might want to do here, here for the label, I have been playing with the label for the HTML label issue, which has been haunting me for a long time now, longer than I would have expected to be. But there is a lot of stuff going on for the label to get the right size, because yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with font sizes, bigger, smaller, and now we're going to add some auto stuff, auto sizing stuff as well. So yeah, I'm not sure yet. These are, as far as I can see, a bunch of properties that will affect the sizing of this thing. So we might want to add an entry to here as well to make sure it fires off the right methods to determine the right size. Can I send you one course I will attend soon to I hear your opinion? I'm not sure what you mean. Mousewani? Mousewani? I don't know. You mean you want to send me an issue and you want me to have a look at it? You can always send me the issue, then we'll see if we will take it offline, or maybe I can set up a stream about it. So please do that. And here, as for these kinds of flags that you might see here, this is kind of specifically for iOS. That is because the code base for iOS and macOS is mostly mixed. So if you see this if mobile flag or else, this is actually the change between iOS for mobile and else. There's probably a flag for that as well. Will be macOS. So there's some macOS code in here as well. So if you want to implement something for iOS, you probably want to think about the macOS implementation as well. So here, layout subviews, okay. We override that. So there's some stuff that we want to do here. Dispose, so on element change, that is probably something that you will have used when you created a custom renderer. So here you can see basically that we have a lot of update methods that do the right logic for our properties. So I'm just going to assume that we can simply, which is probably not going to be the case, but we can just say update auto size, because it has some impact, of course, on the some other text properties. So maybe something in update text or something. But let's just pretend that this property is something separate from that. And we're going to implement the update auto size property here. Oh, actually, this is on element change. So this is the initial setup for the label. And then we also have the on element property change. So that is where you want to check if this is about your property, and most likely want to fire this method again. So here you can see whenever the property name is text property, then we are going to do a bunch of things because these are all impacted by setting this property. So we are going to add here else if e property name. I think there is a cool extension method now available, which is called e_is, and then we can just say label.autosize property. And so this checks if this basically is a shorter form for this. So if we go into this is a extension method that we, well, not I'm saying we to get a little bit of credit, that we wrote, which is basically a little bit more compact than this. And I think we have another one, C is one of. So when you have these, it's not in this renderer, but there are some renderers that have or e.property name is the next property here. So then it's the other way around. We want multiple properties whenever it's changed to fire off these. And that is a little bit of a shorter form to write it, to make this a little bit more readable. So you probably might want to use that. Azure, wow. I'm so hardwired for Azure that I'm typing Azure. This is amazing. Update auto size. Here we go. And we're getting errors because that is not here. Again, update padding. You can see everyone has a little bit of OCD on the team, or whoever is implementing this, and we like to keep everything in the right order. So you see a lot of these mobile and else differentiations. There are little details. As you can see here for iOS, it's called control.lines. So this is a UI label, which has the lines property, but for macOS, it has the control. Is it also a UI label? Maybe in, well, something else. At least the property is called maximum number of lines there. So there's these little nuances there that you might to take into account. Update padding, here we go. Oops. And we want to add our auto size here. So if I want to take into account the mobile thing immediately as well, I don't know the actual Mac OS name for this, or for that matter, I don't know what the actual iOS name is for that. And if, there we go. So what we then can do, I think we can say control, what was it? Fits, size that fits? No, system layouts, fitting, adjust font. Oh, there we go. Adjust font size to fit width, which is also a Boolean. So that's awesome. So we should be able to simply say this is element, because element is our Xamarin.Forms abstraction dot auto size. There we go. So this until now this seems to go pretty well, as it to be a very easy property to implement. So well, let's just see what happens. Let's go crazy. And well, what should happen now, so let's put in a breakpoint, is that our new property is set to true in the label core gallery page. It hits this new method, and it will now set this API on the native control that we could not reach before. And hopefully that will just give us the result that we are looking for. Again, there's probably some other stuff that will influence the way this works, but yeah, at least we have some result for this stream, right? So in our chat, I will start learning programming soon, and I want to hear your opinion about this course I will attend. Ah, so you want my opinion on a course that you will attend. Okay, well, I'm not sure if I will be the best advisor for that, but sure, I will take a look and give you my opinion on that. Not a education advisor, but if you are interested in my opinion, I have one, so that's fine. You can see it already fired here twice because, yeah, all the other labels that are already in there, of course, get this property as well. But it's set to false, so you shouldn't see anything weird here going on. But we do have the label gallery, so it fires some more. Okay, there's a lot of labels in here. But if I go now to the auto size one, then we don't see any difference. Okay, that is too bad. So let's see if we can go in here and give it that background color. Background color is always good, right? Let's use color dot fuchsia. I've learned that there's two variations for fuchsia here. One is the right spelling and one is not. You can figure out which is which. So that might be a funny story for the Xamarin.Forms history here a little bit. Let's run this again. I can still see the frame rate is going up and down, so I'm still sorry about that. Don't know what is happening there, but I appreciate your patience for that, and at least you can hear my soothing voice. So let's take this out for now because I'm done with pressing F5. Label and go to auto size. Okay, so something doesn't seem to go right here because I would expect the font size to be bigger, right? I don't know, would I expect that? Because it has a large width, so I would expect it to go all the way there to fit with, right? Am I mistaken? Let's see if we can get the documentation. Boolean variable should be reduced in order to fit the title string. Okay, so it's reduced. Normally the text is drawn with the font you specify. Text exceeds the labels. Okay, so it's the other way. Okay. Okay. My bad. So what we should then do is we probably want to set the width to, I don't know, something small, and pump up the font a little bit, the font size. What do we expect here? A double? Okay, a double is good. And let's make it something crazy. Let's make it 50. So whenever I run it now, I would expect it to be much smaller to fit it into the bounds of the label. Instead of how it would behave first, probably, whenever we set these kind of crazy values, we just see a little bit of the text somewhere in a corner, and that would be it. But we can test that theory when we set the auto size back to false, and it should behave like it is implemented today. So let's see if that is actually something that happens. Okay, so what does this do? Height 50, width is 20. I'm not sure if it's keeping to this width request here. It seems to just always take the full width of this thing. So I probably text alignment. long text. So let's see if we set this to false, what happens then? I have the other streamers that I see, they have this kind of background music to fill these empty spaces, but I don't know. I like to work in peace and quiet. But maybe I should put a stream on just for you. But it'd have to be like the copyrightless music. So let's see if we go to the label. If you go to the auto size, we have the same thing. Okay, so this doesn't really work right now. So what do other people do when they want to test this? So here they have this with the request. Does the text alignment then do something? Horizontal text alignment. Alignment test site request. Let's see if that does anything. Let's stop this. There we go. Let's figure out the height automatically. Do. Okay, so here we go. I think there are some tricks to get the label gallery to show up immediately as well, so you don't have to go through this exercise all the time. Okay. So I think because it's in a... Maybe that is the difference. No. Vertical text, horizontal text alignment. How do they handle this? Because I think because the container is a, I don't know, something stack layout. It automatically takes the full width of things. So how am I gonna test this? Maybe I'll just cheat a little bit for now to see if it does something. And I'll just add a new file here. And it's going to be issue 7176. New. Then I just go to the neighbor and copy a couple of things here. So actually this will be good. You can see how this works as well. You can see me copy and pasting all the things. So you want to get a couple of usings here. Make sure that, oops, this is the right one, else it will throw an exception that these numbers are duplicate. And here you can have multiple by just piping them together. Platform, Android, iOS for now. Let's keep it to that for now. And this one, and here for the title, I usually just take this one or maybe put in something more descriptive whenever you don't think that's right. so there we go. And then here we just want to override from the content page for now. So here we will get the red squigglies. We need to implement this. So here is where we want to create our content. So actually a stack layout should be the one which keeps the label the smallest, right? Is new stack layout. Label, new label, which is going to have the, well, let's be lazy, right? This one can go, let's copy this. There we go. Oops, and get this one out of the way. Okay, good. And then we want to add our label to the stack layout. Children. Add label, and we want to make that the content. There we go. So now if we run it, did I get everything right? I think so. We should have a new issue in the issues page, which is 7176. And that should show our label, and we have a little bit more control over how the layout looks. So at the same time, I have almost 50 followers, so I need to put in a little follower goal thing. And at 50 followers, I'm almost at my affiliate status with Twitch, so that would be pretty awesome. So if you have some friends who aren't following me yet, please ask them to do so. A little plug here, a little commercial. So go to test cases 7176, and it still is very big. By the way, you can, you don't have to just use CS files. You can use XAML files here if you want to. So that will also enable hot reload here, hopefully. Anyway, here you have some examples. So if that is what you want, typically whenever you reproduce a bug or something, it should just as well be reproducible in a CS file. I like to create my UIs in XAML, but for recreating these bugs, a CS file is a little bit easier. And there are not that many bugs very specific to XAML. So yeah, you probably can get away with just using a CS file here. But anyway, if you really want to do this, just find an XAML example here, and the CS file will look mostly the same. So you can use that as well. I was just thinking of that because I wanted to have the option to hot reload right now, because then I can try some things without having to build all the time. So maybe I have to set this to just horizontal options is options at center, and also for the vertical ones, let's see if that gets me what I want. If anyone has any better ideas, please let me know. Maybe instead of the copyright-free music, I'll just sing a little myself. Oh, there it is. Good. Oh, we're going to go to the test cases 7176. Well, that does somewhat what I want. And auto size is false. Okay, so maybe a little bit more width would be nice. And let's see when I flip this to true if it does do anything. So if you want to, of course, maybe I should add that. Maybe I should just do that. If we want to also test if we can flip this runtime, you just add a button that does that for you. Text is auto size toggle, and whenever we press that, whoops, come on, clicked. Now we're gonna get in trouble because we need this here. Label. Here we go. Add no auto size is not label not auto size. And then we still need to add that one here as well. Okay, so let's first see. Oh, that's the other funny thing. If you enter something here, you can't click this button. So I don't know why that is, but you want to make sure that is clear to go here. So here we have hello world, but it still is not sized to its width. So that is kind of funny. I don't know why that is happening. So let's see what we get if we put the button in to see if it actually responds to changes in that property. Is there anything more in this documentation that I should be using? Number of lines, the maximum number of lines to use. Oh, so maybe that was okay. Okay, so maybe I should set that to okay, interesting. So maybe I should use that together with the max line property. Does that make sense? 7176, there we go. So because it does kind of like size, is this 200 normally? I don't know, maybe I should make it even, I should make it gigantic and see if that happens. So, but this doesn't really seem to do anything. So, okay. Allows default tightening, font. The default value of this property. So if you change it to true, be sure to also set an appropriate minimum font scale when modifying the minimum scale factor property. Okay, so I think someone else already suggested that, but this is weird because I would expect it to do something. Yeah. So it doesn't give me IntelliSense or the actual property, but I can go in here. Okay, so adjust font size for content size category is false. And this is also false. Okay. So, and if I do it again now, then I should expect it to be true. Okay. And it still is. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Adjust font for content size. Okay, wait. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. What's it called again? Adjusts font size to fit with. Okay, adjusts. It's not here. So that's probably why the IntelliSense is not working as well. So let's go to the immediate window. Evaluation fail. Oh, so that's cool. Okay. So let's make it something ridiculous, like 500. Dum 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 dum. How's the video? Is it better? It looks like the frame rate is more stable. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. Okay, let's get rid of this for now. 7176. Okay, if this doesn't work, then oh no, the whole label just went out of the window. Maybe 500 was a little bit too much. So then what? Before it was 50, so let's make it 100. Let's see if that does anything. And else I'll just move on to Android. At least you have the idea on how to implement this now. Then I'll make it work afterwards for to get it ready for the actual PR. Would have been nice if it worked right now. But yeah, it's the demo gods, right? It's just whenever you want to do things live. I guess that's no different for when you change that boolean, the label will auto size automatically. I wonder if you need to call a measure method. Yeah, that should happen automatically. 7176, but that is a good one to, well, see, okay, so, but auto size is true now, so I would have expected this to be smaller then. So what happens if I do this? Nothing. Okay, but that's a good one to check. Yeso pass, because I added this auto size property with the property changed, which calls the invalidate measure internal, which does some measure internal stuff, right? So I would expect this to, I don't know if this is going to work. See, so here we go. Invalidate measure internal. And this should go somewhere as well. So if I put in a breakpoint here and I run this, I come here, we can go in there. Well, that might be a little bit too much. So here we go. On child measure invalidated. So I would expect this to give us the right measurement. There is the other one that that I can still try. Again, this is my final attempt, else I'll figure it out offline or in the next stream if you're really interested in how this will end. There was the, oh wait, that was for iOS specifically. This perfect size set. So label auto size property name. So I think this is used to invalidate some kind of measurement thing as well. So my final attempt right here. See if this works. And I think there was also some hints here for how to implement the auto sizing text view for Android, so that is great. But yeah, this is what sometimes happens when you think like, I'm just gonna map a simple property to the platform specific property, and all of a sudden you're opening this big can of worms, and it turns out not to be so easy. Go away. So final attempt. Oh no, it does nothing. Okay, so too bad. Moving on. Maybe just one more thing here. Update layout. So here, yeah, I don't think I get the IntelliSense now for macOS, but here you probably have. Oh, this might actually be the macOS one fit. Size that fits, fitting size. Yeah. This might have some might or might not have a property that does the same thing that you want to implement in this else statement here. So in the meanwhile, let's have a look at how Android does things. You can instruct the text view to let the text size expand or contract automatically to fill its layout. Oh, awesome. Let's do that. Default, granularity, presets. Okay, how do we do this? Size, uniform. Set auto size text. Okay. Text size. Okay. 7176. Nope. iOS doesn't care. Okay. It's weird. Anyway. I'll figure this out later and write a blog post about it, maybe why it didn't work the first time. Okay, so here we have the platform Android, and for Android there's another extra thing that you want to watch out for, which is the normal renderers. I think those are now the legacy renderers because we are enabling the fast renderers by default. So these are all the renderers, and we have also for a couple of controls we have the fast renderers. So these are just a handful, but the label is there. So you want to implement your new functionality in both the fast renderer, if there is one, and the normal renderer. It's kind of a pain to do that, but yeah, it's important because the fast renderers have some optimizations for these controls to counter the performance issues that you might have on Android. So yeah. And here, basically the same idea as on iOS, to just have this label renderer, which does a whole bunch of things which probably are similar to iOS, but now use all the Android APIs. So also here you see something like get the desired size and that kind of stuff. So that's probably what we will be battling here as well. And also here we have the on element change. So this is whenever your element, your control is being created. And we are going to say update auto size here again. So this is basically going to follow the same pattern as on iOS. And here also, else if E is, we have it here as well, is label auto size property. And then we also want to update the auto size. And basically we are going to do the same thing here as well. After the update padding, we are going to do this, and what was it? Control set auto size. Okay, so here we have a couple of flavors that we can use. Set auto size text type with configuration, preset sizes, or defaults. Defaults always sounds good. So let's go with that for now. And we have none or uniform. So this is probably, they have taken the option to go beyond a simple Boolean value. They have made it an enum. So probably whenever they come up with more auto size text types, they can easily add it here. We will be in trouble then because we just have the simple Boolean. But for now, let's just stick with that. So auto size, what do they call it? Auto size text type. Text type is element auto size. Then we're going to go with auto size text type. What? This was a enum, right? Was it called differently? Come on. Auto size text type. That's weird. Auto size. Uniform. Okay. Not sure why IntelliSense is failing me here, but and else it's going to be none. Awesome. And then we're going to use this in here. Okay, so the beauty is, because Xamarin.Forms, we can just now simply switch over to Android. I have an emulator ready, for which I had some trouble with this emulator actually, so let's see if this is going to work out of the box. But it should. And then I can go to that same issue. I don't have to add it again and see how this code behaves on Android. Uh-oh. Is this stuck? That's not good. That's not good. Okay, it seems to be responding again. Is the emulator already here? So I'm gonna give it at most another 30 minutes, and then it's getting pretty late here, so then I'm gonna head off. But let's see if we can get something to work today. That would be amazing. So are there any questions for contributing right now at this time? Now would be the time to ask. Okay, Android is finally starting. Builds take a little bit longer. See, that's what happens. I don't know why that is happening. Whenever my Android emulator fires up, Visual Studio goes down. But it still should have my new code, 7176. And also here it doesn't seem to respond. Okay, so whenever it doesn't respond here, do I need to give it a height? Is that a problem? Or something in my shared code is not propagated the right way. So I thought Visual Studio was going to restart. Let's quickly get it from here. Or I might be missing something from this functionality altogether. I don't know. Maybe I should try a different emulator so I can put in a breakpoint as well, because, well, not having hot reload might be something, but having to restart Visual Studio each time that I run this, that might be a little bit much. Okay, so here we are again. Let's see if this gets called at all, but then I have to switch to Android again. And let's try this one. Oh, it also had something to do with the, oh no, it should be available through API 24 or API 14. Oh, maybe it's using the old render. So that's something that could happen. That has bitten me before. So I should go here and basically implement the same code more or less. Update auto size, that should work. So then here, see, it's getting late. I don't know what I'm doing. Update auto size. There we go. And we want to do that here as well. Oops. Everything good? Okay, let's see if that works with the other emulator, if that doesn't crash. Come on, Android, you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. Pretty please. Nope, still crashes. Okay. Again, something to figure out at a later time. But hopefully my code will still come up on this emulator here to see if this does something. And also that has stopped. Okay, that's cool. Open again. Maybe if I just, maybe it is deployed, so no. Okay, awesome. So last try on the original emulator. At least the app ran there. And else I'm just going to give up altogether and try again tomorrow. This is where some music would come in handy. Oh, see, this is the font property that I mentioned earlier. It's apparently obsolete as of version 1.3. That is very early on. It's so early on that I'm even doubting if that is correct. Shouldn't it be 2.3? I don't know. Oh, this is working very well. At least I achieved my standing goal for today, so that's good. That is something. Come on, Visual Studio, what are you doing? Okay, one last try. I'm just gonna close down the simulator already. So is there anything I should know about auto-sizing text views? Actually, is this am I thrown off track here? Because this is auto-sizing the text view and not so much auto-sizing the text, right? Text view scale. So now I'm actually looking at, is this the, because we want to auto size the font, not the text view. Okay, so this is interesting. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing for Android here altogether. So let's Google a little bit. Android auto size font for a text view. That is correct. So it does redirect me to this one. Text view text. This is from 2011. That might be. To always display the text. Okay. Let's see what this is. Android, new auto-sizing text view. Mobile apps use the text views extensively. Fixed width or height, which makes resizing the font to always display the text challenging. You can set this new auto properties or later by using the text view compat class. Okay. Doesn't adjust the font size to the frame. Auto size type uniform. Okay, so this seems to be what we're after, right? Is this done loading? So let's restart this again. Visual Studio is going to crash. I'm going to see if this works. If not, end of stream. We all go home. But at least, hopefully, you learned a little bit about the structure of the Xamarin.Forms solution, and to help you get started yourself, and then figure out what is wrong with this tomorrow with this implementation, which is probably something small that I'm missing here. (7176). Come on. Nope, doesn't do anything. Hello world. Okay. So yeah, I guess that's it then. So at least we have implemented the property somewhat. I have implemented it on the abstract layer for Xamarin.Forms. Then I have implemented some code for the platforms on iOS and for Android. I guess what is going on is something simple like the new property doesn't get propagated the right way to the platforms, or that something happens with the setting for the auto size font is getting overridden because of other font settings or that kind of stuff. Hey R2OW, I was just wrapping up here actually. So, but thank you for joining. I hope you will watch it back and let me know what you think. But yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't get the actual functionality to work. So let's see if that is some material for another stream. Maybe I'll just start a stream ad hoc tomorrow, whenever I figure out what's wrong. But for now, thank you for watching. Thank you for doing this with me. And if you have any other questions about contributing or this label auto font fit size thing specifically, please just let me know. Reach out. All the details should be right under here. And yeah, until next time, please find your friends to follow me so I can be a Twitch affiliate. Yes. Thanks, Jeso. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. Okay, Andreas, I hope you found it useful. If you run into any problems getting started yourself, I hope you will, then please let me know. I'm glad to help, so we can jump on a call and figure it out together what's going wrong. So yeah, thank you. Until next time.